Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Philly Factor. I'm your host, Paul Perello. I am so glad to have with me here on this edition of the program a good friend, somebody that I've known since we were kids. Only kidding. I'm just trying to make it
Seems
seem
like
like
it.
yeah, I know. It seems like we have known for quite some time when you were with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and I was working in radio back in the day. But you are now an established author, numerous books to your credit, and you're back to talk about your latest book, Cheers to McGillin's, Philadelphia's oldest tavern. Irene, I love this book. It is really a heartfelt, warm, welcoming, inviting, eye-opening book about this tavern that is in Philadelphia that many people have heard of. Many people may not have heard of it. So why don't you first geographically place McGillin's for our audience? Because people may think they know where it is, but where is McGillin's located?
Sure. And thanks, Paul. Those are all the same adjectives I would use to describe McGillin's.
Hmm.
Warm and welcoming and interesting. And um, McGillin's is in Center City. It's just sort of behind City Hall and Macy's, between 13th and Broad Street, between Chestnut and Sansom. It's tucked on a little alley. And it is Philadelphia's oldest continuously operating tavern and one of the oldest in the United States.
Wow. How many people have probably walked by McGillin's and don't even realize the history that is located there? It's the oldest continuous operating tavern in Philadelphia.
Exactly.
A lot of people might think it was a City Tavern, but we all know that from time to time, City Tavern closed, or especially during the pandemic, many places closed. But um, it's amazing that McGillin's holds this honor in Philadelphia, as well as not only Philadelphia, but the country.
And their history is so interesting. They opened in 1860, the year that Abe Lincoln was elected, just to give you
Wow.
some idea.
Yeah,
And in 165 years, they've only been owned by two families,
that's amazing.
each family for three generations. So the book tells the story of those two families and all the things the tavern's gone through, from the Civil War to two world wars, two pandemics,
Mm.
a fire, and even prohibition when they couldn't serve alcohol for 13 years.
What did they do? Did they sort of maybe not do everything above board in order to serve alcohol, or did they follow the rules?
Well, it's hard to research something that secret and far, long ago. There are two stories. Um, Ma McGillin, who was running the bar at that time, very unusual for a woman in the early 1900s, but she was widowed and ran the bar, was pretty strict. She was a tough, tough bird who followed the rules. And she did rent out the bottom floor to a ice cream restaurant and then a restaurant so that it could survive by selling food.
Hmm.
What went on the second and third floor? I don't know. There were a lot of little rooms. It was 2 blocks from City Hall. Did she serve tea upstairs? It's highly possible.
It's funny. One of the many stories that you're going to get in this book from Irene. Um, Irene, you've written a few other books, all featuring and focusing on places around Philadelphia, things to do while you're still alive, as opposed to things to do when you're dead, which is an impossibility. But back to the matter is, what made you decide that you wanted to focus on McGillin's? I mean, there are so many other great topics that are out there, and as evidenced in your previous books, but why shed this spotlight, put the part of the pun spotlight, because that's the name of your public relations agency, but why feature McGillin's this time around?
You might have noticed that McGillin's is in both of my other books,
Hmm.
100 Things to Do in Philadelphia and Unique Eats and Eateries of Philadelphia. And in my other profession is public relations. McGillin's has been my client for 20 years. And they just have a million good stories
Mm,
from the history to the love stories. There are hundreds of couples who met at McGillin's. There are ghost stories. There are celebrities who come in all the time, from former presidents to mayors to professional athletes to rock stars.
mm,
There's just a million good stories, and we felt like now was the time to tell them.
yeah. It's truly amazing that businesses today, and I'm not telling anything you don't know, that they all seem to fight to survive anymore. And oftentimes, you and many other people will see a new place open. They'll be open for a few years, and then for whatever reason, they just can't make it, and they close or they're bought out or whatever the situation. But what is the secret, if there is a secret, to the success of McGillin's that's been around for 160 plus years? I mean, what, why does this business flourish, and why is it so successful today, sort of like it was many, many years ago?
Well, it's interesting. It's very much a balancing act. The owners, Chris Mullins Sr. and his wife Mary Ellen and their son Christopher Mullins Jr., feel like caretakers. They're preserving McGillin's history. So they very much want to respect that history and keep things the same, whether it's the look of the place or the feel of the place. But in order to survive 165 years, you also have to modernize,
Mm-hmm.
like putting in a fire sprinkler system and putting in Wi-Fi. Believe me, they didn't have Wi-Fi 165 years ago. And updating the beers. It used to be you got, a basic beer and baked potato back in the 1860s. Chris Mullins Sr. in the let's see, mid 1990s was one of the first bars to introduce craft beer.
Mm,
And now they serve 30 different craft beers on draft. So it's a balancing act of preserving and respecting history, but also staying current with the times.
yeah. This book, and again, it's Cheers to McGillin's, Philly's Oldest Tavern by Irene Levy Baker. This is really a love letter to Philadelphia as well as to McGillin's. You pay tribute and honor to the 165 years of this tavern, and I also love the photos that are included in your book, because not only are you telling the tales of 165 years, but you have included some intimate pictures uh, of people that are either patrons there, who have visited there, who've owned the place, and what's that like? I mean, to get the oral history down, it's one thing, but then to find these pictures, I'm sure you had to do your homework and really dig deep into the archives to find photos that would complement the great words that you've put into this book.
Well, the pictures were really fun, and finding new pictures was really exciting. We have pictures that we found at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania from old newspaper articles dating back to the 18 and early 1900s. And one of the most exciting parts was that Ma and Pa McGillin, who ran the bar when it first opens, their daughter, Mercedes, kept a scrapbook.
Hmm,
And the scrapbook was full of newspaper articles and family stories and photographs. And Mercedes, great, great, great granddaughter, shared the scrapbook with us for the very first time.
wow.
And it was exciting. And she and her mother and her sister came to the book launch last week, and it was like they were royalty to us.
Wow. Yeah. Why, or I guess the question is better, like, what prompted the original owners to open McGillin's? I mean, um, and like you said, Ma uh, would eventually become a female owner in a time when there were no or very few female business owners in Philadelphia back in the day. But what prompted them? I mean, what experience did they have in running a tavern, or was it a whim? I mean, what made them open this tavern where they did?
Well, what I can tell you, in 1860, William McGillin was a young man. He was an Irish immigrant. He was a cobbler.
Hmm.
I guess he wasn't making a good living as a cobbler. because he opened a tavern um, and started running it. Things must have gone well because he started in one row house on Drury Street. He eventually expanded to three row houses. He had beers, he was making beers in the basements underneath Drury Street and serving them. He died in 1901, not surprisingly, at McGillin's,
Wow.
perhaps one of our ghosts. And in 1901, when he died, Ma McGillin, Catherine McGillin, took over the bar. She ran it for another almost 40 years.
Wow.
Now, she's the one who changed the name to McGillin's. It was originally the Bell in Hand. And there was literally a wooden bell, hand holding a bell that was outside that we have pictures of in the book. On its 50th anniversary, Ma changed the name to McGillin's because that's what everybody called it. Let's go
Sure.
to McGillin's and have a beer. So she changed the name, ran it through Prohibition, died shortly thereafter. And then Mercedes, the maker of the scrapbooks, and her brother took over. When the brother died, Mercedes ran the bar with her nephew. And eventually in 1958, there were no other heirs to take over the bar. There was nobody. So that's when it was sold to the family that owns the bar now and has run it for three generations.
Yeah, and that's truly remarkable that they bought the bar and they pretty much kept it the way that it was meant to be kept. I mean, they pay tremendous homage to the founders and the original owners because, look, in this day and age, it's not uncommon for a business person to come in and sort of turn the place upside down, change the name, change the menu, change the decor. And while some of those things may have been done subtly, at McGillin's, it's remarkable that they continue to honor the history of the original owners and the history of McGillin's itself.
And that's exactly what they do.
Hmm.
So two brothers bought the bar, the Spaniak brothers. And in the book, we talk about how the history of Philadelphia and the ups and downs in Philadelphia really impacted their business. When when banks moved and offices moved from Market East to Market West, that impacted them.
Sure.
When Liberty Place and the Bellevue and Market East opened, that impacted them. So their business ebbed and flowed as Philadelphia ebbed and flowed over the years. Eventually, they were ready to retire. They sold it to their daughter and son-in-law, Mary Ellen and Chris Mullins Sr. And fortunately for them, then the convention center opened soon after they bought the bar. Things really had a dramatic turnaround, and they run it now with their son Christopher. And the interesting thing to me about McGillin's is the age span of people who come visit it. And that might be one of the things that keeps it relevant.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, with a built-in Center City client base, they're going to be business people and people that are in town shopping or whatever, they're going to go there. But I assume there's also got to be a pretty regular foot traffic of people that are also going there. I mean, we tend to think of, once 5 o'clock rolls around, the sidewalks roll up in Center City because everybody's migrating back home, wherever that might be, whether it's the suburbs of Philadelphia or South Jersey or whatever. But I'm sure they have their regulars that turn out to McGillin's.
Well, I'm going to argue with you there about the sidewalks rolling up at 5 o'clock because the wonderful thing about Philadelphia in my mind is that because there's so much residential in Center City, that I feel like the Philadelphia is bopping and exciting and things are happening every evening and every weekend and all the time. The
Hmm.
sidewalks are crowded,
Yeah.
um, and things have really come roaring back. And their customers tend to be, sure, business people during the day who work nearby, people who come in for lunch. We also get tourists and conventioneers. Um, I like to say that my kids and I both hang out at McGillin's, and if they saw me, they would be mortified. But that's never going to happen because I'm there during the day having lunch with people of a certain age, and they tend to be there at night um, long after I'm in bed. So it's
Mhm.
very much two different crowds that come there. And it's the um, tourist and conventioneer crowd that inspired us to open a permanent gift shop this year, too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great because in this day and age, people want to go to a place and they want to take part of that place with them, whether it's a keychain, whether it's a magnet, whether it's a T-shirt. I think it's being in Paris earlier this year and going to many of the famous churches and some of the off the track places. Every You always exit into a gift shop now. I mean, you go to Notre Dame and there's a gift shop right there
Yeah.
in the middle of the cathedral. So yeah, I mean that's part of not only our society here in the United States, but no matter where you travel, where you go, everybody wants that tangible evidence of I visited here. And whether it's a refrigerator magnet, you could always look at it and you can have fond recollection of your time of wherever it was that you visit. So was that your idea, Irene, or was it the owner's idea that maybe we should do this?
No, it wasn't my idea. It was their idea. And I think it's a great one because exactly as you said, every time you look at that refrigerator magnet of the Eiffel Tower, it brings back those happy memories you had there.
Sure. Yeah.
And same thing.
Yeah. I want to go back because you sort of slipped in this word ghost in our conversation just a few minutes ago. So have people obviously they have felt the presence of a ghost. I don't know if anyone has really seen the ghost. I don't know if you've seen the ghost, but what's the lore of the ghost? I mean, what's that all about?
There are several people that we know have died at McGillin's. Pa died cleaning up the basement. Uh, Ma didn't die at McGillin's, but the South Jersey Paranormal Society did spend the night at McGillin's with their equipment and spotted a woman in white reflected in the mirror above the fireplace. Um, so we do have a picture of the lady in white. I mean, it makes sense that it would be Ma McGillen because it's such a fun place. Why would she ever want to leave?
True,
And
true.
the people that work in the kitchen basement on a pretty regular basis hear all kinds of strange noises. They've been reported that pots have flown across the room, that noises happen. So we believe those are ghosts too.
Hmm. And I guess it's good for business because people just want to come not only to have a drink and something to eat, but maybe they want to actually encounter one of these ghosts.
Why not?
Yeah,
We
for
have
sure.
spirits and spirits.
Good point. I like that very much. The other thing that I found remarkable is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the McGillans, the original owners, um, they had seven children, and all seven children were raised above the tavern.
Well, seven sounds like a lot, but they had a lot more than that. They had 13 children,
13.
13 children raised on the third floor. Yep. But you don't see a third floor when you come to McGillin's anymore. It burned down in a fire in 1971
Oh, wow.
when the Spaniak brothers owned the building. Um, the kitchen was up there. It was a
Okay.
kitchen fire. We are told, we have read in newspaper articles, believe it or not, the band that was playing there played Come On Baby, Light My Fire.
You can't
People,
make it up. You
you
can't make
can't
that
make
up.
this stuff up. The
Right.
newspaper said it. People stopped to blow out the candles on their tables, helped the band grab their equipment, and most importantly, they were able to put out the fire before it burned down the second floor and the first floor, and all the liquor licenses hanging there since 1871, and the original wooden bell in hand, which was not damaged and still hangs above the bar.
Wow. That is
So now
truly.
we're two floors.
Yeah, yeah. And there was never any plan. There was never plans to build the third floor again, but they just figured they weren't.
Well, it's funny because the brothers vowed that it happened over the summer. They really wanted to be reopened in time for Christmas.
Mhm.
So they just moved the kitchen down to the basement where it still is today and rebuilt the two floors and never rebuilt that third floor.
About that. And the building itself, the actual tavern, um, remains intact in that they never expanded beyond the current location. I mean, sometimes businesses look at properties that sit on either side of them and say, "Hey, I hear so and so wants to sell the business next door. Maybe we should buy the building and expand one way or the other." But the actual physical location of the tavern remains the way it has for the past 160 years.
Well, actually, back in the William McGillen days when Pa was there, he did swallow up the buildings on either side. There was an Hume's Oyster House on one side, and he did expand into three storefronts
Okay.
there on Drury Street.
Mhm. What do you think, Irene, is the real legacy of McGillin's? I mean, what makes McGillin's stand out from some of the other businesses? Not that we're pointing fingers or anything, but here it is in the 21st century where it's either eat or be eaten by other businesses. And yet they're still going strong 165 years plus. I mean, what do you think? Why? What is the secret recipe of why they are still successful and still a part of the landscape of Philadelphia?
Wow. I mean, that's a good question. Um, I think the owners, maybe it's the heart, they're the nicest people in the world. I think it's the soul. I think that they treat everyone like family. So we have employees that have been with us. We have a bartender that's been a bartender there for more than 50 years.
Wow.
We have servers that have been there for 35 years and people and someone in the kitchen who's been there like 35 years. The daytime bartender, Tammy, has been there for 25 years. Our
Mhm.
manager has been there for 20 years. So people don't stick around that long if they're not treated like family.
Sure.
Um, but as a someone who visits McGillin's to see the same faces over and over again, to be recognized when you walk in, to know the people, I think it makes it feel like a family.
Mhm.
It's it's always been family oriented from the time of the McGillens.
Yeah. And I like what you just said there because, oftentimes, even having experienced this myself, you go out to a restaurant to eat and you can really tell just how successful the business is by the wait staff. And having been a waiter earlier in my life when I was down the shore, in college, waiting tables in Wildwood Crest, I mean, you really have to become part of the fabric of that business uh, because not only is it beneficial to you, but it's also beneficial to the owners who have such a vested interest in it. And today, when you go to some places to eat, you're just another backside in a seat, and they're just looking to turn over that table as quickly as they can. And to hear you describe what you just said about the people that are there at McGillin's is it's just so special because that's what makes a business like McGillin's stand out from so many other businesses that dot the landscape of our region.
It doesn't hurt either that the food and drinks are fresh, homemade, and a lot less expensive than a lot of places in Center City.
Yeah, which is remarkable in this day and age because given the real estate and given the overhead that many of these businesses have, they do charge a lot of money, and sometimes you're not really getting your best bang for your buck. But it's encouraging that McGillin's continues to thrive and survive, not really changing the recipe from the early days. It's a family oriented business, and you're not just a patron when you go into McGillin's. You really are part of the fabric of that establishment.
That was beautifully said.
Well, thank you. I
Speaking
mean,
of recipes, this is not a recipe book. It's more of a history and stories, but there are recipes sprinkled throughout the book. At the end of every chapter is a food recipe of one of the bar's signature dishes
mhm.
and a couple of drink recipes.
So I have to ask: do you have a favorite recipe, or a favorite drink?
Um, well, I will tell you that I tested every one of the recipes in the book.
Okay.
And the pumpkin pork apple cider stew has become one of my
Mm,
family's favorites. It
that sounds
is
delicious.
delicious.
Yeah.
McGillin's only serves it in the fall, of course. So that's one to watch for. It shows up on the specials menu. I also made the Mile High meatloaf, and I have to say it was not as good as the one at McGillin's. So I had to talk to the chef and say, why is yours? I followed your recipe. Why is yours so much better than mine? And I learned that those spices sitting in my drawer, it was just so much how much more flavor.
Hmm.
And I learned that the spices sitting in my drawer had been sitting in there too long. So now I date them all. And if they start getting old, I toss them out and get new spices, and it makes a huge difference.
I'll
So I
bet.
actually learned that testing the recipes. And now I can make good meatloaf too.
Maybe you'll invite me over and I could try it out. Right? Um, but we just have a few minutes left, Irene. I mean, what's next? I mean, this book, tops the other books, and the other books are absolutely fantastic and great. But is there another business, another topic that's in your crosshairs right now, and you're ready to tackle it? I know I always ask at the end of every show, "What's next, Irene?" And you're like, "Well, this book, it took me this long to get to this point, and not to put pressure on you as to what is next, but can you give us an idea of what you might be working on next?"
I think I'll stay consistent and say that my full focus right now is on Cheers to McGillin's. And can I tell people where they might get it if they're interested?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. They can get it at our shop at 123 South Juniper Street. And they can get it on our website, mcgillins.com, McGillins.com. It's also available on Amazon and at Barnes and Noble and independent bookstores.
Excellent. Excellent. Um, Finally, what do you hope then, Irene, people come away with from your book? I mean, what is it that you hope they not only get an appreciation of McGillin's, the history of it and the lore of it, but what do you hope that readers take away from your book?
I've always enjoyed the story behind a restaurant or bar. So, sure, you can come in, you can have a really good drink, some interesting beers, great food. But I hope that this will enhance and make their experience richer when they know the stories and the people, behind McGillin's, Philly's oldest bar.
Yeah. Cheers to McGillin's, Philly's oldest tavern by Irene Levy Baker. What a pleasure it is to catch up with you again. Congratulations on the book. It's a wonderful addition to my library, and I'm sure many other people's libraries as well. So until the next time, thank you so much, Irene. I really do appreciate your time, and best of luck with your book.
Thank you, Paul.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul Perello, your host here on the Philly Factor. We'll catch you next time around.